Zhou-sen.
It's not Chinese New Year.
No, I know, but I'm always in the mood. Our chief executive was up in Wuhan, and he got presentations made to him last week by people in Putonghua, and he said, "Oh, that's fantastic, thank you, but don't forget some Cantonese next time." So I guess our chief executive is now the Guangdonghua champion in China.
All right. You know Wuhan, what does it mean, right? Literal translation.
I don't know. Wu, is it like 5 Wu?
Wushu.
Wushu. Like 5 books?
Martial arts.
Oh, like Wushu. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Wuhan is
Han,
like the martial arts.
Han, you know, this Han Dynasty.
Han,
but also
Wait,
it means male.
Okay.
Male. So martial arts male.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
He did talk about violence behavior in driving the mainland tourists away. Should be more cautious.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, so so that's a little taste of what went on last week.
Okay.
Our chief executive was on the road. As I said, now Guangdonghua champion, nationalist champion. Oh, can I call him a nationalist champion for the Cantonese? Oh, better not. So separatism's on people's minds, but that's not what I want to talk about today. Last week, a couple of things. The Pan-Democrats, right? Chris Young, in his column in Harbor Times, was talking about kind of the pandemic cracking up, starting to break up again. And I think I've talked about this before, with the ATD, bringing them together a couple of years ago. And now
they are quite broken. They are quite broken.
That's what I'm saying. I hear you. I mean, like every, and it's so the big ones, of course, the Democratic Party and the Civic Party. So the Democratic Party's having internal infighting now with old kind of legacy members.
Even the legacy members are
well, the old boys are the ones causing the trouble. Yeah, they're causing trouble, and now they're like, oh, we have to have the disciplinary committee come and like give them a spanking. Because the old guys that aren't LegCo members anymore.
And then they always have this younger generation and older generation problems within the Democrats.
Yes, yeah, and of course, and that's a whole Hong Kong thing going on right now. We've seen it in a lot of places. And then there's the Civic Party, of course, has got Claudia versus Ronnie, and then Ronnie all of a sudden decides he's going to have a new platform.
Oh, yesterday he has this new platform meeting.
And everybody's first platform meeting. And I mean, I don't know why. And I've talked about this before, the democratic deficiency within the democratic movement. They can't seem to have what I would consider a normal democratic structure within the Democratic Party, so they just end up, every time they have a disagreement, they end up splintering. They can't just have a good old, throwdown where they determine it like a leadership race, right? Like you get dissent within a political party in Canada or the UK, and if the leader doesn't have enough support, they go to an election or a vote of confidence, and if they don't have enough support, they change the leader, and they elect a new one, and everybody agrees to go along with that, for as long as, but the party itself doesn't break apart. But what we're seeing now, Democratic parties infighting again, Civic parties infighting, will they split and split? Our two biggest parties, we've already got a whole bunch of little, kind of ankle biter parties. We'll just end up with even our two big ones, which if they were unified would be much more powerful, breaking apart into even more little ankle biters, right?
Oh, but the strange thing is, you have the third, more liberal-minded political party called the Labour Party.
Yes.
But having said that, the Labour Party doesn't benefit from any of these splitting ups and all that.
No, because when people split, they don't join somebody else. They just split.
Yes, exactly.
And
actually, the Democratic Party has split, a major split once. With Gary Fenn setting up a whole new organization which targeted the younger generation. So you will see.
And and then you've got young inspiration now, who are like, maybe we will, maybe we won't run for district council. I mean, like, there's no collecting of this, and I'm still waiting for somebody to create a truly democratic party where they say we will have real open membership, we will have actual policy conferences where we debate and debate and debate and then vote on what our policy is going to be, so we can have a coherent democratic movement.
But you know what? I think it's also quite the trend right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider any social network, I mean, there are small clusters of different interests.
Yeah, and that's
and they seldom unified. So this is what is happening in the Pan-Democrats right now.
But you do get in other places. You do get like the critical mass you need to actually have a viable alternative to government. You know, if you've got 10,000 little things, you know, none of them can run the show, right? And I mean, you know, and unfortunately, we go through these cycles of consolidation and then splitting apart. But the splitting apart is always more dramatic and more enduring. And there's a little bit of consolidation and then another big scattering. And so in each successive wave, they just become more and more.
You know what I call?
What's that?
You study physics?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's the thermodynamics of democracy.
Okay.
You know thermodynamics, right?
Sure, the second law.
Yeah.
Everything proceeds to entropy.
Yeah, and people, politicians tend to split apart.
Yeah.
Rather than forming a cohesive whole.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I have talked about this. This comes back to the idea that perhaps if the Democrats actually had a hope in hell of getting some kind of power, people would put aside their differences in the interest of getting that power, which is what happens in other places. But here, because of the way our electoral system works with the lists and the lack of you know, possibly getting real power, they can't seem to pull it together.
And I think it's a structural problem, though.
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
With the Legislative Council, I mean the geographical constituency, being elected through
these
a proportional
lists,
proportional system, then they just go ahead and split it because they don't need a big percentage to win it. Yeah. I think it's a systemic thing.
It is. It's a real problem, and I mean,
if it is all about first past the post, then they have a stronger motivation to unite it.
Yes.
Because they have to fight internally.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And I wonder if all this talk about, you know, changing the election for chief executive, of course that's important because that's where the power is. Yeah. However, you know, they might also want to try and get away from the list system and move towards more of a first past the post.
Yeah. A proportional representation system will definitely encourage people to split up.
Absolutely. So that's one of the two big news stories, and if you want to read more about it, I'll put it in shameless plug time. Harbor Time and Print is back.
What is this Spy Guy is about?
The cover story was about, is the government being smart with smartphones? So, are you familiar with the Gemalto incident? Okay, so you know, for viewers that aren't familiar, basically Dutch maker of smart chips for phones. They do about $2 billion a year. They're everywhere. I mean, they're all over this city. They supply all 4 major telephone carriers. Basically, the Americans and the British broke in, stole the algorithms, and can hack into any one of those phones in a heartbeat, anywhere that their chips are in the world. So we started asking the question, what is going on with our top executives' phones? And they were very cagey about answering. And we're like, chief information officer, do you do it? And they're like, we have guidelines for the departments, but we don't really control what they do. So then we asked the police, and the police were like, not our job. We catch bad guys. We don't, control telecoms for the top executives. Go check with the CIO. We're like, well, we already checked with the CIO. And then everybody was very cagey. Nobody wanted to tell. So we went and talked to experts in the field. And one of our regular law and order columnists who used to do very, very high-level work with CSIS, Canadian Secret Intelligence Service, his opinion, now this was an opinion. He didn't have the inside intel on this, but he said it would be perfectly logical if, he says the way it works is that in most places, the top-level officials, the military has access to technology the police do not, right? Because it is a security risk for the police, civilian authorities to have access to this kind of incredible high-tech stuff. Yep. So he figured that, the PLA in Hong Kong, who do have access to this kind of technology, they are probably monitoring everybody at the top level in Hong Kong, because it's kind of their, secret, like James Bond, Chinese style. And he figured, but they would probably also have an interest in protecting their communications. Yep. And so he said he wouldn't be surprised if the PLA was helping to provide security for the mobile devices for our chief executive, financial secretary, Carrie Lam, all the rest of the top people. And that was the end of it. But we don't really know because there's kind of a zip lip.
Well, I think the Canadian is more concerned about that with the falling apart of BlackBerry.
Yes.
So, the smartphones market has been more driven towards a duopoly. A duopoly of Samsung versus iPhones.
Well, part of the challenge that we talk about is the fact that, it used to be like, get a BlackBerry, you're covered. Yeah. But people now, even top executives are like, oh, but I want an iPhone. My kids say I should have an iPhone. It's like, good, your 16-year-old's driving the decision.
But even some of the law firms, the global law firms are switching to smartphones right now. So it's a new trend where the chips could become some sort of major leakage for a lot of key personnel. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's what we were concerned with, because there's kind of an internal government network that is apparently very secure, but they're regularly communicating with other people, or maybe they just get hacked into. So that's what we were asking. People can read about it in the new print edition. One more time, last time, there it is, or or they can check out our new website.
You have a new website?
We got a new website.
Why? You got hacked
last week. No, we've been working on it for a while, and our paid subscribers have had access to it.
All right.
So they've been seeing the flashy new one while it was kind of in guinea pig phase. But it's out there now. People, check it out. Let us know if you find a broken link. There's always a couple. But generally, I think it looks pretty good. One of our guys in the office, Michael Wong, he's been working hard on it. He's a journalist, but he's kind of WordPressed himself into doing this as well. And we had another guy, William Ting, who was working on it before, and Michael has picked it up and kind of completed it, and it looks pretty good. Check it out.
Congratulations.
All right.
On the new website.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.